on camera, I guess. My life.
Well, yeah, as long as you have a shirt on, bro.
Let me see.
And with that being said, what is up, everybody? What is up? Welcome, guys, to LootCast episode number 25. Guys, we have made it 25 weeks of the LootCast right here on youtube.com/The Game Looters. Guys, tonight we have, as always, a huge episode lined up for you guys. We are talking about the Game Awards. Guys, the nominees were announced this week, and there has been just a lot of turmoil on the internet. If you guys have spent even 2 seconds on Twitter, then you guys may know that a lot of people aren't happy about this year's nominations, and Jeff Keighley has maybe gone a little bit of a defense mode. We are talking about Half-Life and VR being a part of it. We're talking about Pokemon and all the people who said they weren't going to buy it. Maybe they did, and tons more. We have an awesome show lined up, and with that awesome show comes an awesome lineup of guests tonight on our show. Joining us, we have a very special guest. We got to go to this man first. Some say the man, some say the myth, some say the legend, Mr. RGT85. Thank you so much, man, for joining us over here on the Game Looters tonight. How are you, my friend?
Doing good, man. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.
It's always good to check out other podcasts I'm not super familiar with, so looking forward to being on here.
Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. And as always, as I'm sure most others do, what have you been playing? What's been in the repertoire of games this month so far?
The Garfield kart, Furious Karting. I got a review of that coming up because
he's dead serious.
I'm dead serious
I
too.
believe
Like
it.
I was doing footage for that. Death Stranding. I'm about 13 hours or so into that. You say the month. The month is a lot of games, so I'll try to keep it brief. Yes, definitely some Death Stranding. Just Dance 2020, unfortunately, because that was another thing my viewers had me review. When did Luigi's Mansion was? I didn't get Pokemon. I haven't gotten Pokemon yet.
No Pokemon? Are you planning?
Welcome to the pilgrimage. There's not many of us, but we're
like,
here.
I'm a very casual Pokemon player.
Okay.
Before Let's Go last year, I hadn't played a Pokemon game since like Black. So
Okay.
I played it as a kid. When I was 12, 13 is when Pokemon Red and Blue first came out, and like that was my shit. And can I swear on here or no?
Absolutely, go at it.
All right, cool.
I do it all the time.
Like, Copa now. We don't even know nowadays.
We're not kid friendly.
That's true.
We marked the channel, not kid friendly.
You don't want to be for the kids, like
No.
like Michael Jordan says in that picture. Fuck them kids.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody asks me about Copa, because let me tell you, there's a lot of people overreacting to this Copa shit. As someone whose bread and butter is YouTube, if I'm not worried about it and I'm a gaming channel, I feel like other people should see why. Like, because it's not as big of a deal as it is. Like, yes, if the be all end all, if the worst of the worst comes to it, then yeah, it could be bad.
Yeah.
But it's not going to get to that point. Anyways, back on track.
Garfield.
I don't know. Garfield, yeah, and it's not good. But I do have a world record for the time trials on 2 of the tracks, and I checked this morning. I still hold the world record, so I'm gonna have to call up Twin Galaxies and tell them to put me in their fucking book. So
There
I
you
can
go.
get that in there. So
Fuck yeah.
that's my claim to fame.
Isn't it a review? How many people have the game?
Oh, no, it's not even a review. They did not do review copies for this game. I actually had to like wait to buy it and shit. And
Oh,
it was
is it out?
funny.
I didn't know.
It came out the night like 2 days ago, and like I've already beaten it, and like I've pretty much unlocked everything I want to unlock. There's like nothing unlockable wise. When you pause the game, it doesn't pause any of the sound. So if like you're revving your engine is just like the audio mixing is so bad at default levels. All you hear is the engine. You don't even hear the music, and it's like, is there music in this game? And then you go to adjust it. And then you find out that there is indeed music in the game, but it's not very good. It's just, I loved Garfield and Friends as a kid. Like that was one of my favorite shows of all time. So I always have a soft spot for this. But yeah, it ain't great.
Is it one of your favorite games, Garfield on the Sega Genesis also?
Well, yeah, but that's a good game. that has some of the best animation on the Sega Genesis. That's the animation in that game is up there with like Aladdin in terms of quality. Like it's
Yeah.
legit. But
I'll have to
yeah,
check
it's
it out.
just it's yeah, a lot of Garfield card at the house.
Interesting game to be standing in line for, right? You're just standing behind someone. Say, I'm here to get, Garfield.
I couldn't even do it.
You know?
I had to buy it. I bought it digitally. I couldn't. do it.
I said I couldn't even
Probably
do
better
it.
you bought it digitally. It's one of those games
Don't-
you don't want people to see on the
Don't
shelf.
be ashamed.
The people at the people
buy
at the
Garfield
restaurant
with
near him know
pride.
who he is. He's got to show his face in there when he's like,
Yeah, they do know who I am
Well,
as well. So
And that leads me to speaking about showing face. A man has made a little bit of a comeback today, and I dare say I saw this mother sucker go live. What is up, Mr. Rax the Great? How are you? Back to YouTube,
Yeah.
my friend.
So it's cool. I was hanging out with this guy earlier, and we were talking a little bit about YouTube, and
Yeah?
I was like, I might go live. He's like, just go live. I was like,
Do
I
it.
don't know if I want to go live. He's like, you're going live. I was like, all right, I'm going live. So I went live.
So how was that? How do you feel it? Do you feel the energy head to toe? It's back. It's all Rax.
Yeah, I mean,
Rax
dude,
great
obviously
again?
it's a little awkward being back on YouTube. You know, obviously I wasn't gone too long. I've definitely
No.
taken breaks before. But you know, I'm excited to get back into YouTube. Like I love doing it. I think there's a lot of like drama and stuff that makes me kind of steer clear of going on YouTube sometimes. But you know, aside from that, I think that if I stay in my own lane and do my own thing and just kind of, you know, focus on the positive path, you know, I'll just stay in my lane and not worry too much.
Amazing. I'd
Well, it's
love to
definitely
hear that.
fun popping into your streams again.
No, it was great. I appreciate everybody who stopped in.
100%.
Yeah, it was
And
great.
obviously, we saw you playing Jedi Fallen Order. What else have you been
Yes.
playing? In the
So at night, I've been actually playing my Switch in handheld mode for
Okay.
like I've been playing some Pokemon. So I
Hey,
picked my
hey.
starter, which is Score Bunny. I went with Score Bunny.
Hell yeah.
And the other stuff,
Salvo?
I've been playing a
Couldn't
lot
do
of
it?
Diablo, dude. Funny story, I've got
Oh.
my mom addicted to Diablo 3.
Nice.
So like I got her all hooked up. I got her a rose gold PS4 controller, got her a headset and stuff like that, PlayStation Plus, and then we've just been playing Diablo 3 online. It's been a lot of fun. So
Nice.
That's what's up. Yeah. Playing in handheld mode. Yeah. I think Witcher, Dragon Quest, Fire Emblem. This has been the year of playing handheld for sure on the Switch, especially
Pokemon
ever since I got that Switch Lite, man. It's been fantastic.
yeah, man, Pokemon just feels so good in handheld. Like it you
Yeah.
know, growing up playing it in handheld, it feels right playing it in handheld. For someone who was so excited to play it on my TV, I find myself pretty pretty shocked that I actually took it out of the dock and just walked away with it. It just
Right.
I feel like that's a game that you just kind of need to walk around and just kind of it
Can't
kind
really sit
of
down.
makes you want to explore,
Yeah.
so you kind of end up
Yeah.
just doing it naturally. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's great to hear. Speaking about doing it naturally, there's one man who does it naturally every single week, Mr. Jake and Bacon, right here on the LootCast each and every week. We got that luscious hair. How are you today, Mr. Jake and Bacon?
I'm doing fantastic, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. You know what? I can always count on you asking. You know what? I had a hard day at work. You know, it was very stressful, but, you know, I'm back
Oh my
doing
God,
what
you
we
made
love
it.
here. You know, thank you for asking, man. How you been? What you been playing?
Dude. You know what I've been playing.
Uh-huh.
You know what
Uh-huh.
we play on this channel?
Uh-huh.
Pokemon.
Oh, yeah.
Pokemon.
What's your deck's up to, Jake?
I think 180.
Oh, nice.
Something like that.
That's pretty quick.
Not bad.
Dude, I haven't been sleeping.
You're
Like,
gonna be the very best, like no one ever was, Jaken.
dude, I was at my job and I was staring at someone. Like, they were talking, they were complaining about something, and I was just like staring at them. And they're yelling at me, and all of a sudden they stop and go, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
thinking about
yeah.
how I could catch you if you were like an ultra ball, if you're a great
That
ball.
damn 2% spawn rate. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Guess me every time. Purple Lights, Gigantamax.
What gym are you at now?
I'm actually in. Well, I don't want to spoil. I'm at the end of the game, so I'll just say
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Well, from one Pokemon trainer to another, we have ourselves a local Pokemon trainer coming on, Mr. V Sips. How are you tonight, dude?
I'm doing pretty good. I am the local Pokemon master, but I don't
Yeah.
have Sword and Shield at the moment. I still am a little mad about the whole thing, but clearly everyone else who was mad bought the game anyway. So it's like, what, like literally, I'm
Was it
like
a
one
6
of
million
a
already?
few people that didn't buy the game. I've been playing Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney trilogy on the Switch. I love
Nice.
that game. It's so good. I'm halfway through the second game of the trilogy right now, and I've been playing a lot of Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz actually. I've been playing a
Good
lot of that.
game.
I'm gonna have a review of that coming soon too. And I have a Death Stranding impressions video coming as well. I was playing that a bit.
Oh,
And
really?
pretty soon Dragon Quest 11 S reviews coming like any day now. So can't wait for all that. That's what I've been up to though.
Very nice. That is a good kind of variety of different games there, from Death Stranding to Dragon Quest and all in between. That's pretty good there.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on for
Thanks
another
for having me
episode,
on.
man.
It means a lot.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you coming. And with that, Mr. Monopulse tonight, the narrator himself. How are you today, my friend?
I am doing great. I'm on my weekend, so
Ooh,
it's
enjoy
only
that.
getting better from here. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm gonna load down with some gameplay tomorrow. But yeah, it's been a good week. It's been a nice, easy week, and now it's the weekend, and gonna hop back into that Pokemon train. It's pretty much what I've been playing over any time I've had to play something. Of course, before that, I was playing a bit of Death Stranding, and I did pop in Jedi Fallen Order for
Ooh.
about 15 minutes.
Oof, don't hurt yourself there.
And then I went back over to Pokemon. Now, here's the thing. My bar is very low for Pokemon. I hadn't really played. I played like, I guess I've done 2 gyms in Let's Go Eevee, and I used to play Red, Blue, and Yellow. And that's about it. So I know that I know there's some contention. I know like V-Steps, I know you're on strike against the Pokemon. You know, you're voting with your wallet.
Yeah, I've been
and
playing
that's fine.
Pokemon for my whole life. So like I've played every game multiple times, hundreds of hours, thousands. So
And I get it. I do understand the points of contention people have. For myself, though, I expected this, maybe 1Z hour before I go to bed, kind of, I play, and ended up like I'm not like 187 Pokemon, but I've definitely logged about 20 hours. And like you said, it does prompt you to explore racks, and I've just been kind of going out in the wildlands, grabbing items, leveling up different Pokemon. It's just been fun. So. I've got no complaints personally, but I guess, like I said, my bar may be different than maybe some people who have played every generation.
Yeah, amazing. And I think with that being said, I think honestly that leads us into the news tonight about bars being set, some high, some low. And the Game Awards is there's very interesting bars being set there as far as what should and shouldn't have been nominated for the Game Awards. Mr. Chris, Mr. Monopulse, take us into the first subject of tonight, my friend.
Well, the first subject, and what I would say is probably the spiciest subject, as the most controversy surrounding it, maybe the Game Awards, and what Jeff Keighley has announced for the nominees of 2019. Now, Control and Death Stranding have received the most nominations, including each earning a spot of the Game of Year nomination list. In total, there are 29 categories recognizing AAA games, indie games, esports, and more. I'm kind of going to go back to start at the bottom and go up to the Game of the Year. Best RPG has nominations for Disco Elysium, Final Fantasy XIV, Kingdom Hearts 3, Monster Hunter World Iceborne, and The Outer Worlds. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of go in these in each category. What do you guys? How do you guys feel about that list on RPGs? No Fire Emblem at all, huh?
Oof.
Goddamn
Well,
that's a
straight.
snub.
They put Fire Emblem under strategy.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So
I guess
because
that's fair.
I noticed that first. I think it's kind of weird that DLC is in there. Like I get it. Iceborne really changed up a lot of aspects, but it's still DLC at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised
I
Dragon
agree.
Quest 11S isn't on there.
Good point.
Yeah, Resident Evil 2 is up there.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
Said Dragon Quest should, because
Yeah.
Square Enix even said that it's a remake, not a port. So
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of weird that Dragon Quest 11S wasn't put down for RPG of the year, because I mean they added in a bunch of additional content and the 2D mode and stuff like that. But maybe it was kind of a soft year for big release RPGs. I guess you could sort of make that sort of debate. But the one thing about the Game Awards is, have any of you guys actually looked at the as I sit here with a dirty Q-tip. Have you guys actually looked at the people who nominate the stuff?
No.
I've not dug
No.
into it like
No.
extensively, but
I was
I'm
gonna
not sure
ask,
about the
like,
people, but I
yeah.
know it's like the certain like critic places like Eurogamer and stuff. I'm just not
Right.
sure who each person is for each group.
Well, I mean, even just looking at the list of what companies of the 80 companies, if you look at the list for the US, especially, there's places like Newsweek, Entertainment Weekly, The Hollywood Reporter, Vice, the
yeah,
LA
that makes
Times.
sense. Yeah.
Was,
Completely out of touch. I mean, it's always interesting to me when like Forbes does game reviews, and it's just like this is the weirdest outlet.
Well, see, the one thing about Forbes is because I actually had a couple of years ago, I had a run-in with Forbes, and like,
Oh yeah,
yeah, like I ended up cussing out one of the guys, and like he called me. We had to have a civil. Basically, when I was writing for Nintendo Enthusiast, they pretty much like ganked a story that I had actually researched and like came up with like I don't even remember what the story was. It had something to do with sales figures, and I was the only person at that time who had came up with any sort of sales figure. So everyone that was reporting on that story was going back to me. And then like 3 or 4 hours later, they ran the same exact story and they didn't give me any credit. So I found the dude on Twitter and was like, hey, you're a piece of shit. And he was like, what? And I was like, you know what I'm talking about. You know who I am. Like, I don't know. For some reason, it just really rubbed me the wrong way. So he ended up calling me, and then they put me on their they ended up listing it as a credit for me. They were like, oh, allegedly. And I was like, whatever, I'll take that. At least I could say I've been on Forbes now. But Forbes actually has some independent people that work for them that do sort of know gaming. And like I'm not sitting here and saying like Newsweek shouldn't that there's not good people at Newsweek, that there's not good people at Vice and the LA Times and shit like that. But when you look at any sort of independent sources that are not either things like that are more based on the entertainment industry or things that are dedicated video gaming websites, there are only really 2 independent sources out of the list of everyone, and that's What's Good Games, which is a podcast with Brittany Brombacher and Andrea Ray and one other lady is with them, and then Kind of Funny Games, Greg Miller's thing. And it's like, well, even just looking at those 2 independent sources, like looking at Greg Miller, he hosted EA's Access event at E3 this year. Like, is that really an independent source? So really the one independent source is What's Good Games. And I've talked to Brittany before. Brittany, people give her shit because, she's an attractive game female. They think, oh, that's why people care. No, she's actually been doing this for a very long time. Very intelligent person, very well known as far as knowing the industry and things like that. But to only have one real independent source and everything else are these big webs like your Kotakus, your Polygons, and then your outside sources, that just rubs me the wrong way. That's how you end up with Control and Death Stranding as your Game of the Year nominations. End rant.
Not a bad rant. And actually, I stopped by Dom's desk day. We work at the same place, and I was like, you know what? I bought Control. I played Control. How is it nominated for like 6 different categories? And that's even being somebody who's like, I enjoyed the game.
It actually was nominated for 8 categories.
Or 8. Yeah, whatever, how many categories ended up being. It's like, it was fun. I don't know if I'd say 8 categories fun, but that is where we are. Any other thoughts on the RPG? And what would you vote for?
For RPG?
Yeah.
Let me look at that list again real quick.
Monster Hunter. That's what I voted for. I mean, but that's also like my game.
Outer Worlds, Monster Hunter, Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy 14, and Disco Elysium.
So I don't exactly.
Kingdom Hearts is not really an RPG.
It's not.
I don't exactly agree with the Outer Worlds.
I don't really have much to say on that category.
Yeah, I don't agree with the Outer Worlds really being in the Game of the Year contention, but I think it should have been in the RPG. I'd probably either go with Outer Worlds or Monster Hunter World.
Yeah,
but
it's it's Outer Worlds. Yeah,
it's more original, I think.
Who else played Iceborne? Apart from like me and Dom.
Crickets.
I thought so.
Well, moving on to
not even RPG.
Is anybody got next for having
this
DLC?
This is the bullshit from last year, dude. When Monster Hunter won, it's not a fucking RPG.
What is
God.
it?
I mean, Monster Hunter really. There are RPG elements, but I would say Monster Hunter is an action adventure game.
It's an
action adventure.
where
With
you
RPG
collect
elements.
stuff.
with RPG elements. Outer Worlds, I definitely can see that. It has that
Yeah.
Fallout
Yeah.
style.
Yeah.
And then you have your traditional RPGs, but
Hell,
it's like a customizable character to me.
I'd
Yeah.
call it a hunting game.
I mean,
There you
something tells me Kingdom Hearts will take this one though. Like
I
I
hope
think
it doesn't.
I think it will. I
played
have
the
that
game, and
feeling.
I'm a pretty big Kingdom Hearts fan. Like Pokemon, Kingdom Hearts, Smash Bros. Those like my 3 franchises. Like I understand Kingdom Hearts. Like who understands it? Nobody.
Yeah, fair.
Well,
It's
people that
not a
made
good
it
game,
didn't
so.
understand it. They're like, let's just talk about the Heartless and the power of waking and
Yeah.
just let people ramble on for
And
fucking
every
45
time you
minutes
reach a
at
new
time.
world, it's like you get the intro cutscene, you do a small bit, sub boss, do a small bit, main boss. It's 2 hours each world. It's
Yeah,
I literally beat
if
the
I had
game
to
in 22
customize my
hours.
gummy ship one more time, I would have lost it. That's why I stopped playing. I'm not gonna lie.
Dude,
Yeah,
the gummy ship was
that
terrible.
that
Yeah.
stuff is in general has never been the best part of those games. Like the gummy ship parts, I've never been a fan of them. But Outer Worlds deserves RPG out of that list, hands down, in my opinion, personally.
I haven't finished it.
Well, speaking of Iceborne being an action adventure game, that list consists of Borderlands 3, Control, Death Stranding, Resident Evil 2, Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, and Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice.
I cannot
this for
believe
action
Astral
adventure?
Chain is not in this list.
Where the
Yeah,
hell
that's-
is DMC5?
Yeah.
DMC5 got fucked over this year.
Bro,
A lot of games. got
That's a
screwed
game of
too.
the year. That's a game of the year.
That game was
is-
fantastic.
that game was so good. I could not put it down.
Yeah, that game, Astral Chain, tons of great games got like nixed this year.
That's
Well,
so dumb.
On the action side, I mean, we did get an honorable mention for Devil May Cry 5, along with Apex Legends, Astral Chain, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Gears 5, and Metro Exodus. So it didn't get slotted into action adventure, but it did get slotted for action solely. So it did at least make an appearance.
That's true. Yeah.
But the big controversy, I believe, is the Game of the Year list, which consists of Control, Death Stranding, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, of course, making the cutoff from the previous year, Resident Evil 2, Shadows Die Twice, and The Outer Worlds again. This, to me, and this is my personal opinion, is not the an understatement, maybe not the strongest Game of the Year lineup that I think could have come out.
No.
Well, first and foremost, Control doesn't need to be on there.
At all.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not.
Again, I like the game, but it's not 8 nominations good. It's like maybe 1.
Death
Like
Stranding.
art direction, like that's like the best thing I can think of for Control.
Yes, correct.
Like, because it is a very beautiful game with the way
It
it has
is.
all those different cinematics. But Game of the Year, like I would have been fine with that off of it and having another game there, like Devil May Cry 5 or Astral Chain or Fire Emblem Three Houses. They're all high leveled scored games in the Metacritic too. So in comparison to Control, it was like 81.
Yeah, that's the
And
thing.
Fire Emblem
Control,
Three Houses is an 89. Like I don't know.
Control, and Death Stranding. You can make a case for Death Stranding, but the problem with it is the fact that Jeff Keighley had to go on Twitter and say, "Oh, I don't do the nomination. I don't do the nominees. Here are people that do the nominees." If you have to go on Twitter and say that, then obviously there's a problem. There is a conflict of interest, whether he wants to think there is or not. When you are pretty much the PR spokesperson, when you're going to events and creating events with Kojima to showcase this game, when you are in the fucking game and the game scores an 81 or an 82 on Metacritic's, very split decision. People either loved the game or hated the game, or some people didn't really like the game, but they still reviewed it high. And it's going over games like Devil May Cry 5. It's going over games like Luigi's Mansion 3 that were well received, that were better received than these games. There's a problem. There is a problem, and that's what it boils down to. If Death Stranding wins, I hope people go crazy. I'm
already crazy about it.
And I am a person who owns the stupid $200 collector's edition because I just wanted the baby.
You got Jar Baby?
Yep, that's all I wanted. But I was like, you know what? I'll check out the game. I played it for 13. I don't hate the game at all. I think it's a solid 7.5, 8. You know, that when the highs are there, they're there. Very good story. The gameplay though is very, I don't even hate the whole walking and package simulator thing. I think that's okay. Where the game falls for me is the combat. because they tried to put combat into the game, but the combat that they put into the game is half-assed. And when you're looking at Kojima, it's like, motherfucker, you did Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, 3, 4, and part of 5, which I wasn't a huge fan of 5, but 1 through 4 are some of my favorite games of all time, 3 being my favorite Metal Gear of all time. How did you go from this amazing stealth adventure gameplay where there were a million different ways to skin a cat, where there was a million different ways to go about your mission on PS2 hardware? On PS2 hardware, they had it where you could be stealthy, where you could be at guns blazing, you could blow up ammo supplies, and then the soldiers that were in the levels wouldn't have enough ammo to do anything, where they would starve because you blew up their food houses and stuff. How do you go from that, such intelligent AI, such awesome and compelling combat, to where even if you don't care about the Metal Gear Solid story, you still came back for the gameplay? If you don't like the story in Death Stranding, there's nothing to fall back on. And that's the biggest problem with Death Stranding.
I agree.
That's actually not a bad point. Metal Gear Solid 3 was really good.
Put all their money and budget into. They got so many actors. They got so many different. Like I said when we were checking it out earlier. Like the game visually looks fantastic. The level design and everything like that, and stuff like that is not like anything that I've seen. In a lot of the games that are on this generation.
Mhm.
But I don't know.
So I think for me, honestly, like Death Stranding, honestly, I know there's a lot of criticism and it goes both ways. For me, honestly, I think it should be on the Game of the Year list. For me, it was probably top 5 games of the year, and it's the experience I've been having with it. It's the story that I've been enjoying. For me, I do enjoy kind of like the cinematics, and I feel like they're like a reward for after doing so much different tedious things. And I actually really enjoy the game a lot. I'm about north of 30 hours into it, and I think that it really should be in the contention for Game of the Year. My problems with the list on a personal level really lie in Control and Outer Worlds, and a little bit Resident Evil 2, just because it is a remake. I'm excited to see it be there, but I think that when I have a year where other games like a Yakuza entry, Judgment, which does new things, is there, where Fire Emblem, which basically reinvigorates the strategy RPG genre, is there, when Luigi's Mansion 3, which is a staple of the Nintendo Switch this year, is there, and they're all higher rated, more critically acclaimed. I think that you have better games that could have made this list that just kind of baffle me a little bit of the game. So although I do see the side of Death Stranding and kind of the critiques of it, I think that the things that I think it deserves to kind of be in the conversation, but my problems really do lie in some of the other nominees there. And Sekiro, I can't really say anything about it. I have zero experience with that game, so from what I hear, a lot of other people really love that game. So that and Smash, I think, definitely deserve to be there in my mind. So
I'd like to pose a question before moving on any further, and that is, what's the game of the year that is not on that list? To each person in the panel.
Yeah, I was
we
really
mentioned it. Fire and Three Houses.
Yeah,
that
I was
is,
surprised
that's a
it
good
wasn't
one.
there.
Pretty
It was the most
unanimous.
popular game of the summer too.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
everyone talked about it all
Dom
summer.
complaining about it like this entire time, how he was gonna have, well, not complaining, but ranting how it was his #1 game of the year, and
Still
that's
is.
what he was gonna vote for, and then it not being there, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna win my Death Stranding vote.
I think Devil May Cry 5 definitely got robbed.
Yeah.
That was
That got robbed, too.
some people are saying it's because it came out earlier in the year, which may be the case. And we saw God of War win Game of the Year last year, and that came out early in the year, but obviously that was a bigger deal. But if people are saying, oh well, it's the 5th game in the series, this game did something, it's like, who cares? If it's making a great game that you want to go back to and keep playing and checking out things, like I'm not even a huge fan of that style of game. Like, I really didn't get super into them until I started messing around with Bayonetta, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll check these out more. And I started checking out some Devil May Cries, but like Devil May Cry 5, I was literally like glued to my couch the whole time I played it. Like, it was just phenomenal. So I definitely think it got snubbed. Yeah,
Well,
like everything about that
it
game
did.
is
Well,
top notch.
with that comment, it's if it's the 5th game, then why is Resident Evil 2 on here when it's a remake?
And see, I know probably some people don't like Resident Evil 2 being on there, but I honestly don't have a problem with it because
Exactly.
I
think
I played it. It was great.
it was.
I
I
It
think
was
it's a completely
but
new
that's-
game. Really,
that's what I'm
exactly.
saying.
Yeah.
I really feel it was a more of a reimagining of Resident Evil
Yeah.
2 because if you did a million speed runs on Resident Evil 2 on the PS1 and then played that game, it's completely different.
Yeah.
Everything about it is completely different.
Mhm.
Just the characters and the settings are the only thing that are
about
really
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it was different enough to be in the category. Maybe they didn't want to give Capcom 2 Game of the Year award nominations for whatever reason because they wanted to spread it out or something. But I think it's
That doesn't make any
that's
sense
weird.
They
because
want to give
Nintendo
505
had like
games
everything
2
last year.
representations.
Well, Nintendo, if you look at the Family Game Award, it's all Nintendo games and it's
They're
like so
cleaning
sporadic.
house.
It's like Ring Fit Adventure, Luigi's Mansion
Yeah.
3, like
Family
other shit. And I'm
category's
like,
a joke. I
what?
hope you all know that. It's a joke. They cattle all the Nintendo games they don't want to get awards. Luigi's Mansion 3 is a beautiful game.
It really
Why
is.
it not in like art direction or something? Like it deserves another nomination. Like Mario Maker 2, I understand it wasn't as good as Mario Maker 1, but like maybe
here's
one
the deal.
nomination here or there could have worked for that too.
So Sean,
was
you were
Game of the
making a
Year
good
with time.
point earlier. Sorry to cut you off.
It's
Vsauce,
all good.
but,
Don't worry, Max. It's all right.
Sean, you were making a good point earlier when you were talking about the panel of who picks these nominations being in all these different bigwig publications. So who owns these publications? Do these publications have anything to do with these companies? Do these companies somehow I see your face lighting up a little bit there, Sean. So I think I think you know where I'm kind of going with
Yeah,
this.
I mean, I that's one thing that some people have been saying when it comes to conspiracy theories. Is there monetary stuff going on here? I don't think in a traditional sense. Like a lot of people, I think the biggest question mark on Game of the Year has to be Control.
absolutely.
Death Stranding
Oh,
aside,
yeah.
it has to be Control. The thing about Control is I don't think like somebody paid money to have this put on the thing, but I do feel like what's going to happen by Control being nominated is that because the Game Awards gets crazy views. A lot of people watch the Game Awards. All it's going to do is that's going to create a lot of notoriety for that game. It's like, oh, Control, I didn't hear about this game. I didn't play this game.
Mhm.
Well, so that's going to help drive sales of it.
Yeah.
I honestly tried to think of other things because I'm that kind of person. And I thought, well, maybe, it was because it has a strong female lead and they wanted some representation on that front. But even if you go that route, Gears 5 has a strong female
Absolutely,
lead,
yeah.
and Gears 5 is better than Control.
Yeah,
So
scored higher,
it makes no sense. It makes no sense.
I
check
think I can
this.
draw the line. It's the 505 Games connection.
That's
505
what-
Games
No,
is
no,
helping
that's-
with Death Stranding on PC, and they already made Control. So I think that's where the line is drawn right there.
All right. So when you were saying something about people giving money for good reviews, I wasn't necessarily going that route. What I was thinking is, so if these companies say have some kind of hand in any kind of development, anything like that, stocks, whatever it is, if they can influence the industry, say for example, last year was a lot of Nintendo stuff. This year they see Nintendo Switch, killing it with sales. Bunch of games, selling well over a few million copies. Sales for Switch consoles themselves are continuing to rise and just continuing to be good, month after month.
Mhm.
And when you have sales slowing down for PS4, Xbox, what is going to get people to go out and get something right at the holiday season? What's at the holiday season? Video game awards. Who has their hands in this stuff? You see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's not so much about is there money being handed to people to say, hey, this is good. I mean, in a roundabout way, I guess I am saying that, but at the same time, what I'm saying is really like it's a little bit bigger than that. I think so also, because if these people are saying, okay, well, all these Nintendo games won, we need to have some more money going into these studios, or else these studios aren't going to get the shine because Nintendo keeps winning awards. Because let's face it, Nintendo makes a ton of fantastic games. The Switch has the buzz that it has because it's great. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
Wii U obviously flopped because it didn't have much. You see what I'm saying? The Switch is completely not that, and it's completely a success in terms of what Nintendo was aiming for. So for it to corner, not only it's got its own thing chiseled away in the handheld market and the the home console market. So it's unique. You know what I mean? So I just think
Its
that
library is
these
so
companies
crazy.
are trying to influence the way people's interests are.
Yeah, but
because
Control though is
the
such
hype,
a weird one to
machine is
plug.
fucking real, man.
You're saying that they're like hedging their bets almost. Like they're saying they can tell their investors and everything that Control is going to sell during the holiday season, and
Well,
then
that happens.
well, yeah, that's. I mean, I talked to I'm fully on board with what you and Sean were saying, where they're nominated to influence purchases during Christmas and everything like that. Which to me just makes this whole award show like it's lost all credibility. It's all like winning game of the year to me now is like, have you ever gone into your boss's office and he or she has like a cup that says the world's greatest boss?
Yeah.
Like no, you're not, Karen. You bitch. You bought that at Walmart on clearance. Like it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't it's just whoever TMZ votes in or whatever, like the entertainment weird magazines and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Makes sense to me. I can't imagine Smash Bros or Sekiro or any of them winning, even though Sekiro is the one that deserves it out of all of those. Not to say Smash Bros doesn't deserve it, but it's a 2018 game in my book still. Like I love the game, but Sekiro deserves it.
Well,
Sekiro's good.
there's a lot of disappointment surrounding the lineup for Game of the Year. Of course, even Garfield Kart Racer did not make the cut, and that is just a shame. But what is putting up Iron Man numbers, if you will, is the launch of Pokemon Sword and Shield, being the fastest selling, much to VSIP's chagrin, the fastest selling Nintendo Switch game yet. Pokemon Sword and Shield are off to a great start, selling more than 6 million copies in the first week since their release, and it ain't even Christmas. It ain't even Christmas yet. It ain't even Black Friday. Where are we going from here? That's according to a tweet from the Pokemon Company, which notes that the figures make the latest mainline Pokemon installment the fastest selling Nintendo Switch game of all time, beating out Breath of the Wild and all that other good stuff too. New Pokemon games are always invariably strong performers. The last all new releases like Sun and Moon for 3DS sold 16.17 million copies to date, according to Nintendo. Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu, and Eevee reached 11.28, and Sword and Shield are pacing to beat those as well. It's always been historically portable focused, like you said, but it is the console, first console iteration of it, so that's drawing many people in. But like Rax said as well, a lot of people still taking it into their life, still playing in the bedroom, bed by. This is great news for Sword and Shield and for the Pokemon Company, for Nintendo going into the holiday seasons, and very bad news for VSIPs. I'm so sorry, my man.
It's not like they haven't made improvements. They have. I can't lie. They have. It wasn't the jump I wanted or I expected. And of course, that's very entitled to say. Of course. But played Series for a long time, and it's a first console title made by Game Freak themselves, because Pokemon Stadium, Battle Revolution, those all weren't made by Game Freak and all of them. It wasn't. So
what's crazy too is if you pay attention to like all the Pokemon community, like all over the internet, whether you're on subreddits, whether you're on Twitter, wherever you are, it's all the people who hated prior playing it while still hating on it, but they're playing, having a great time, but they said they hated it, so they're like, we're gonna keep playing as we hate it. Yeah,
literally, that's what they're doing.
It's just cool to hop on a damn bandwagon and start talking shit about stuff.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
shut the hell up. You went out. You know damn well you were gonna.
They bought the double packs.
Dude,
literally, they definitely bought the double packs.
And they fucking stood outside of New York waiting for that shit with hard-ons, dude. Like they were.
Chips got him on video. Yeah,
come on,
absolutely.
Come on.
Well, at least VC, you committed to your like I said,
willpower.
You've committed to it. I was reading, and I read a post on a subreddit. Speaking of a subreddit, I read a post about, is the game easier? And to which like I said, I was talking to Dom earlier. I was like, isn't the fact that Nuzlocke is even a culture mean the game has always been easy, because there's a whole culture of increased difficulty? And I think the argument really should kind of spear towards convenience. Is the game more convenient? Absolutely. The same thing happened to World of Warcraft. It happens to a ton of other games. It's not unreasonable that it should happen to Pokemon too. And I don't think that makes the game easier. You can still choose not to do these things. A lot of the panel already has Sword and Shield. Maybe some of the panel hasn't picked it up yet. again, as a someone who's not a diehard Pokemon fan, I think it's a great installment in the series.
The
I
crazy
agree.
thing about all those people is they just have to remember, much like myself, 30-year-old Pokemon master over here. These games are
Yeah.
mostly geared towards children. That's the end of the story. When you introduce difficulty levels, I was talking to Chris earlier. Kids who are younger, they're 5, 6, 7 years old, they enjoy pushing buttons. If you introduce difficulty, the kid's going to go into the menu, accidentally put this thing on ultra hard or whatever mode that you wanted it on. They're going to drop it and hate the game, and they're going to complain to their parents. They're going to have a just crappy Pokemon experience. Everybody here in the panel who's played Pokemon Red, Blue as a child or a younger person remembers the awesome experience you had with your first Pokemon game. This is a child's first Pokemon game that in 20 years they're going to be on a podcast saying how much they love Pokemon and how Sword and Shield was an amazing experience. But you have all these hullabaloos over there on the Twitters and the Reddits and stuff, yelling about the difficulty or it didn't do enough. It didn't do enough for them or whatever it is. And at the end of the day, it's like this is meant for children to have their first Pokemon experience. And Game Freak knows what they're doing. They're printing money. It's the most popular freaking thing on the planet. Pokemon is. They know what they're doing. They're selling 6 mil. They just sold like 1.2 down in Japan. It's like the best selling game in Japan this year. I mean, this game it's fantastic. They made a lot of quality of life changes in this game, honestly, too. So the stuff that people did want are there. And the game does respect your time as well, and the different ways that you want to spend it. The game is probably one of the best Pokemon entries in the last decade. If not more. It's a fantastic game, and there's something there for everybody, even the people who are the casual to the hardcore. I think, again, people just hate it prior to its release, and they have to ride what their opinion was to the end.
I literally saw a post where somebody was getting irate about unsolicited Pokemon healing at the end of a cave, and I was like, all right, man. I'm sorry, but whatever. That's such a non-issue to me. RGT, I don't really know much about your Pokemon history. I know you mentioned a bit about playing Black back in the day. You said you haven't played much of the new Pokemon games. Do you plan on picking them up at all? Do you have any strong feelings?
I will probably pick up Pokemon Sword eventually. I actually thought I had ordered it on Amazon and then it never showed up, so I didn't. I just assumed I didn't buy it. The one thing about me personally when it comes to playing games is I kind of have to when I buy a game, I don't really have time anymore to buy a game just to sort of play it. I usually when I buy games, it's to review it, and then I have review copies of shit that I'm working on. So my priorities are all out of whack. Death Stranding was the first game that I bought in a while that I didn't plan on doing a video on it besides just talking about the controversy surrounding it. I just wanted to actually play the game and sort of enjoy the game for myself. So I will get around to picking up Sword and Shield or Sword probably by the end of the year, but yeah, I'm just not in a huge rush. They really didn't wow me with the game. I'm sure it's still a very good game. I'm sure the mechanics are still good, but it just didn't have that console jump that a lot of people were looking for. But that's just because of Game Freak as a company. And I think people have to, when you look at Game Freak as a company, Game Freak is known for Pokemon. When you look at their games outside of Pokemon, what is there? Town, that whole game. Now Town had a beautiful art style, but it had terrible combat and it was all confined into this small area. Now, why was it all confined into this small area? Because Game Freak doesn't know HD game development. Think about it. They've never made an HD game before the Nintendo Switch. So they don't have that learning curve that Nintendo had with the Wii U to learn how to develop HD games. Game Freak has been making games for weak consoles, handheld consoles, the Game Boy Advance, the DS, 3DS, consoles that were always, weaker in hardware. So that's what they know. They don't really know this full-fledged game development as far as HD graphics are concerned. So I think that's sort of one of the things that held this game back is just that Game Freak just probably wasn't as prepared as, a lot of people wanted them to be.
That's a fair point. VC. Oh, I'm sorry, Jake. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you want a suggestion, Sean, get Shield.
Shield is better?
Shield is good.
Are you only saying that because you
Shield
have
better.
Sword and you want
No, I got all the mons I want, Cynthia.
because
Shit.
of Dom? No,
It's raining. It's raining mons over here. No, Shield has better version exclusive gyms.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
If I
just
had
been
to
a good
pick though,
experience.
like I'd pick sword, not because it's blue, but I just don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Galarian Ponyta. I'm not a huge fan. I'll be honest.
I love that
Farmers-
My Little Pony motherfucker.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me
I
too.
not
prefer the
even-
surf
well-
patch actually. But what I do like that I've heard about is the fossils in the game.
Mhm.
I heard that they're abominations. Like, not to spoil for the game. I'm not trying to spoil, but like
Well,
they're like Lego pieces. You find different ones and combine them. Like, that's
Yeah.
pretty wild. Like
There's-
like that's something that like I saw on Twitter and I was like, what? That's a thing now? Like, that's pretty cool. I can't lie.
there's 4 different fossils. There's 2 that are ridiculously easy to get in each version, and you have to give them to somebody in a specific order, and they pop out a Pokemon. So there's
Oh,
4
okay.
different possible
Mhm.
Pokemon you can get, mixing and matching. There's one that I gave Dom that they're
Which
funny
one?
looking, dude.
It's like a,
Uh,
I call it drippy dragon. It's a drippy dragon. That's what it is.
It's not a dragon type, but it looks kind of like a dragon
Yeah.
wrapped in like a ice cube with he's got like a snot dripping.
Oh, I
Yeah.
saw that. I literally saw it in the box and I was like, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, Jake like gave it to me." And when I looked at it, I was like, "Holy crap." I mean, it looks
the
hilarious.
one I liked was the one that looked the least wild. I think it's the fish looking one. I don't know what it is, but it looks like a fish. Like so I don't know. Whatever that one was, it looks pretty cool.
I don't think I've seen
There's
that
a
one yet.
there's a dragon one. There's a water dragon one that I need to get, but I need Dom to give me the fossils.
I'm trying to collect them, I'm over here
Yeah.
Well,
breeding. I got
fossils.
eggies, I'm trying, one thing at a
Get your shit
time. You know what I
together.
mean?
All right,
One
I-
thing at
I
a
need
time.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
VC, before we move on, I know you're staunch in your not buying. Do you see yourself in the future ever caving at a lower price point? Like, is the money the problem, or are you gonna maintain the way out of principle alone?
Well, I was at Walmart the other day and it was already $50 because it's Walmart. So I expect it to reach $40 by Christmas. But even then, it's like if I do get the game, and like Dom said, I have to stay with my convictions. I have to wheel this one out because, like you said, Sean, it wasn't the big enough jump for me. It wasn't. It really feels like that with a lot of the textures in the game, they did reuse assets from the 3DS, but then some of the other towns in the game later on, some of the really beautiful towns,
Mhm.
like the one that's right by that forest, I think, with the mushrooms and all that, with all the special
Yeah,
colors.
I call that baloney
like,
town.
like, the-
Yeah.
like
yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen clips of that. Like that town is beautiful. Like, why can't the rest of the town have polished graphics? Like the tree in that town has new assets on it. Why couldn't they just copy that and put it on the trees? I don't know. Not to say
Shoot.
tree game is a real thing, but like it could take you out of the immersion when you're in the wild area. Probably if you see that tree and then right next to it you see a berry tree, and they both have different textures, completely
mean,
different.
If you're going through the game nitpicking the graphics, fuck you. Like it doesn't matter. You're
Of
not
course, the
like-
gameplay is the same, but
Like
I
you're
mean,
not
fucking
playing
wrong.
Pokemon for the fucking graphics.
it is on a console now, 1080p, 60 FPS. So wait, it's not 60 FPS.
But this is what trips
I
me out
mean-
about Pokemon fans freaking out about this shit in the first place. Because I mean, what the fuck? We're talking about a fan base that buys 2 of the same fucking game with different Pokemon.
Exactly,
in-
that's
in
literally how it
one of
is.
the
And like
others.
Yeah.
10 Pokemon.
And then not only that, but the game has only really increased in terms of like mechanics and quality very slightly since the Super Nintendo. Really, like
yeah,
Doesn't
Well,
need
yeah,
to.
I think the
It
game
doesn't
looks.
need
it's a
to.
good
I think
point.
the game looks great. Like I
Looks
just like
fantastic.
don't get me wrong. I understand why people are upset about not being able to catch all the Pokemon, but like with it being the first installment, like let some other ones come out and let's see what the fuck this one does in conjunction with the other games that come out in the future. I'm sure that you can't just keep adding and adding and adding and adding and adding and it's like
Yeah.
not
It's
not
unfortunate to
have to.
think
You
about
got to
that,
take
but
a break at
you're right.
some point. Like you have over 800 different characters with multiple different types of moves.
And these
And
games,
multiple abilities, and it's
these
it's a
games
lot.
have also been almost yearly for like almost 2 decades too. So
I
that's
can't
the
get
other
Street
thing
Fighter
too.
to fucking come out with a game with 24 characters.
And another thing, dude, people are they like fake what they're not mad about like all the Pokemon not being in the game. They're mad about certain Pokemon not being in the game.
No, I get
Their
it.
There's
favorite.
For me,
Yeah.
not to
there's
cut you
no
off, it's more
way
so
someone
bringing
is gonna
Mons back.
catch
That's my
Nine's
thing.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
What is it? What did you just say, V-Sips?
Like bringing Mons back, like that's like the thing for me, because like I still have Pokemon that I've used in my Ruby Sapphire version back when I was a kid in my current games of Sun and Moon. So it's like you're cutting us off from literally the childhoods, and of course you're bringing new childhoods in, like you said, Dom. Every Pokemon game is a new child.
So you're saying that you
Pokemon,
caught
so.
a Pokemon on Ruby, and you have been transferring that exact Pokemon ever since.
Yep, I
up
still have a
until this point, and
Blaziken
now
from
you
back
can't.
then.
That's
Still have a
that's what
Wailord,
you're upset about.
Breloom. Yeah, stuff like that.
Okay.
Because especially if the game's cut off, like with the Pokemon that are in it, they're stuck there, or you bring them into home. And that's where the problem lies, because when they're in home, there's nothing for them to do. They'll sit there. And
Got
the
it.
next Pokemon games are rumored to be Diamond and Pearl. By that
Well-
logic, any 5th gen, 6th gen, and 7th gen Pokemon that you've already transferred to home can't be used again. So that's 2 years of not using your Pokemon.
Well,
That's
the other
700
thing
days
too.
of not using some of your favorite Pokemon. Some people
The
go
other thing
wild.
too,
on
like I was talking about like last week, because I think
Crazy.
just Game Freak just has a PR problem. Just I think that they don't necessarily
Yeah.
have PR people who really kind of handle how their messaging should be, because they legitimately haven't said that you can't bring your Blaziken into this game, because a lot of data miners have found different code for the other Pokemon are there. So
Yeah.
it could still potentially be a thing. They're just really
Of course,
focused
yeah.
on like play the damn game we made now. Worry
Yeah.
about your baby Squirtles later on. We're gonna just
Yeah.
play what we gave you today. But I
Yeah.
think they just kind of have a PR problem, because you have Masuda and the director. They constantly keep getting interviewed, and they have fumbled their words or the messaging through their different interviews. And I think that's where the big F-ups lie, is really on just their messaging, not necessarily that you won't get this, because you might, dude. In 3 months, they may say, here, babies, here's all your 400 other Pokemon. Now you have all 900 of them.
Yeah.
That may happen. We don't know. And that's still like an unknown kind of thing too,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree with you on that, because usually their PR isn't that bad. It really isn't. Like
Well,
when
your
6th gen
boycott
came around, it
end,
wasn't bad. It was all
would
smooth.
would you stop your boycott if they ended up
Getting
giving you
into the game.
access? Yeah, to your other
Yes.
400 Pokemon.
Yes, I'd probably buy it the exact day I find out.
You're gonna
Literally,
be able to.
like the day I find out they're transferable, I'm going to Walmart.
worst case, just get yourself Pokemon Sleep, put it next to you during the Mimi's time, and your shiny hunt. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great. Get yourself a little Pokeball. Be
Yeah, because
fantastic.
of course I'm still gonna like Pokemon for the gameplay. That's the point. But I just
Yeah.
expected a better jump in all the aspects from the game. I don't know. I just
Well-
expected more than I should have. That's really what it
Well,
is.
speaking of jumping a franchise forward, one that has been sleeping dormant for a number of years, and I don't know, for maybe like a fucking decade or some shit. Valve has said it
Not to
would
cut you off,
love.
I actually have to get going. Not to cut you off.
Oh.
I just realized it's past 11. I actually have
All
to
right.
get
Get the
out.
hell out of
I
here.
don't mean to cut.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, VC.
You're
Thank
good.
you for
You're
your
good.
Thank you for joining
podcast.
us.
input
And
tonight.
thank you, Dom, so much for having me come through for the LootCast. It really means a lot. It's always a great time, and good seeing you all here, Jake and Chris, Sean,
Yes, sir.
everyone. It's always
Peace
a
out, dude.
great time, Cynthia, everyone. So I hope you're having a great time tonight for the rest of the stream. I had a great time being here, and I'll catch you all on the flippity flop. All right.
Later,
I
V-Sips.
see
Guys,
ya.
if you haven't
See ya.
already,
Later,
make
man.
sure you guys check out his channel. It is in the description
Yeah.
and in the chat
You too,
right
Rax.
now.
Have a good one. Keep streaming, Rax. You make good content.
Will
Seriously.
do. I appreciate
All right.
that.
No problem. Have a good one. Peace.
Peace.
Keep streaming,
He's-
Rax.
He's gonna go
Oh.
play Pokemon.
He's going to get it right now.
He's
That's what
gonna
he's
go
getting off
play
for.
He's a
Pokemon.
goddamn hypocrite.
Yeah. But as we were saying, Valve has said it would, quote unquote, love to continue pushing forward on new Half-Life games.
Mhm.
Could we get a Half-Life 3? Don't hold your breath, you'll die. But today, Valve finally unveiled Half-Life Alyx, the game that actually nobody asked for. Its first full-fledged VR game, and more importantly, the developer's long-awaited return to the Half-Life series. The game will be out in March 2020, and it marks the first new Half-Life title since Episode 2 in 2007. That's 2007, when your boy was just getting out of high school. It's probably no surprise that many people at Valve have been wanting to get back to the Half-Life universe for a long time, and this experience has only reinforced that. He goes on to say, this is the Valve's director, says, of course, We'll have to wait and see how people react to Half-Life Alyx once it's out, but we'd love to continue pushing forward. The new VR game is something of a prequel and takes place before the events of Half-Life 2. So, as a Half-Lifer and a Counter-Striker and a Valve software enjoyer, I don't have any desire to play this. I'm so happy that they're doing something with the Half-Life franchise at all, because maybe it means Half-Life 3, but this is going to tank. And if the success of like Half-Life 3 depends on the success of this game, we ain't never getting Half-Life 3. It's just, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, it kind of seems like they're trying to like hint, wink, wink, buy this game, and you might get what you want.
I don't know if
That's what
that's the
it feels
case.
like.
I really don't think that that's the case. I think that they fucking know all right, so they know that, what is it, like 1% of Steam is like a VR user. I think that Steam is not stupid. I think they know
Sure.
what this is. Okay. I think that they know that this is not going to be the Half-Life 3 that everybody wanted, but it's going to cause a lot of stir because a lot of people do want Half-Life 3. They want to bring some attention to VR. What better way to, take a franchise like Half-Life, put out a VR game, which, if people really care about Half-Life that much, I think that in their mind, they're going, okay, if we put a franchise like Half-Life on the VR, maybe more people will take a chance on VR. You know what I mean? Maybe that's just the thing that they are. I was watching some
Like
of
a smart
the
play.
trailer, and I know I talked about this with you earlier, Sean, but like, I was looking at the trailer, and although nothing of this trailer says Half-Life to me, the game does look interesting. It does look like something that I would personally purchase on Steam for my Vive. I have a Vive that I really get no use outside of Fallout 4 in VR, and which is a fantastic game in VR. Fallout 4 is probably the best
Really?
VR. Fantastic game in VR.
Wow.
I feel like, I want something that makes me want to put my Vive on. You see what I'm saying? Like, maybe this is something that they have been working on for a while, because they aren't any strangers to VR. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
No.
that's true.
It's I feel like this is something that I really hope that they put a lot of passion into it, and I really hope that they do something innovative with the VR that makes people go, "Oh, is this the next step in the VR realm?" You know what I mean? I understand that VR is for a specific type of gamer, and I feel like gaming has gotten so big that sometimes these worlds kind of collide, and it's like, oh, this game sucks. Blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, it's not for you, dude. Go play Pokemon. We'll play Half-Life Alyx. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
these games are clearly geared towards two different types of gamers. Now, if there is a gamer out there that enjoys both types, that's great. That's what the fucking great thing about gaming is that there are plenty of genres and things that you can dabble in and enjoy so many different things. That's what makes gamers unique. But I don't know. I think that this is more along the lines of not so much trying to continue the Half-Life franchise, but try to breathe some life into Steam VR's section, because I feel like they're trying
Under
to,
the guise of Half-Life, or not guise, but under the Half-Life brand to kind of bring that
the
notoriety to.
moniker, yeah.
Well, two kind of my barrier of entry of this is I don't have a headset. I would like to play it, and I only say it's the game that no one asked for, because the game that everybody has asked for is Half-Life 3. Of course,
Absolutely.
That's what they've been saying. Now, one point is, do you think, and this is to you, Rax, and the panel at large, do you think it's also not only for bringing attention to Steam VR, but maybe to bring attention to the Half-Life franchise as well, that's been sleeping for over 10 years? And kind of like, you'll have a whole generation of gamers here that have no idea what Half-Life even is.
Well, I think just not to get too far away from that one point. I don't think so, just for the simple fact that, just like I mentioned before, Steam knows that their install base for VR is much smaller than just normal users of Steam playing PC games. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that they're trying to take this like 1% and like, oh, let's stir up some excitement with that. If that was the case, they would fucking have some kind of just like online only. They'd probably come out with some Half-Life Battle Royale shit or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean, though?
Actually,
like,
you're not wrong.
No, I'm dead serious. If they're going to try to appeal that game to kids of this youth that are so into that world, because if from a business standpoint, you want to appeal to kids because those kids are going to grow up and keep buying your products as they get older.
Sure.
You understand?
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's what they did with cigarettes. You're not wrong. But really, yeah, I guess that kind of answers my other question. Is like, do you think this will breathe any life into the franchise at large as well? Which may or may not, but I do think that it's cool that they're offering something more to Steam VR in general and not
I only
neglecting
think
it.
that this is going to breathe life into the franchise of Half-Life by people getting so frustrating and starting a controversy of people demanding Half-Life 3 at this point.
I mean,
like, why the hell would you be making this shit? Like, that's really where this is going to go. Is like people are going to start. Why are you making this stupid VR thing? Go make Half-Life 3. What the hell are you doing, Steam? What are you doing, Valve?
Diablo Immortal. Like
yeah,
that all over again.
kind of in that same vein as like the game we didn't necessarily ask for, but
did they put a price point on this game?
I haven't seen. They did a lot of information now, but
that could be a big factor. Like
I remember my second point. The window of 2020 in March. Like, isn't Final Fantasy VII remake? Isn't like Doom now coming out in March? Isn't like that's a weird window to launch.
It's a different market, though. It's a different market.
Yeah,
it's a different customer base.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I don't think it's going to be like revolutionary sales in general. I mean, it's a Steam VR. You have to. The barrier of entry is even having a VR headset.
The weird thing, though, and I think I saw it in chat too, is like the funny thing about VR is people who are in the platform, whether they're in Oculus or Rift or even PlayStation VR, you don't hear anybody complaining about buying a VR. Like you don't hear any regrets about them purchasing their VR. Everyone who has it, even though maybe sometimes it gets dusty in between months, they are always talking about the one game that they played for so long. They're playing Beat Saber still or whatever it is. I never hear unhappy purchasers, although I'm not a VR person just because of the motion stuff and kind of heard very similarly, but that's the reason I haven't really jumped in yet. But the people who have purchased VR and stuff, like, you never see regret, and they typically have a handful of games that they always tend to talk about. This could definitely be one more for that customer base, I think.
I do want to correct myself. NX Revolution in chat, awesome dude, said you can pre-purchase it. Looks like it's a $60 title, 10% off right now. So there is a price point.
So if they're putting that $60 price point on there, they've got to be fairly confident about what the hell this is. Like,
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, that Wolfenstein VR game came out for $30 and it was terrible. So, I mean, if they're putting 60 on it, then there may be some confidence. Well, I, for one, would like to see where that goes. I hope it's innovating in the VR realm. I do. And I might just have to get a headset to try it out because I've got some other games I want to try as well. But as far as pushing technology, another thing we're going to talk about tonight is the Microsoft details coming out surrounding Project xCloud beta updates, including new games and regions, and also just kind of touch base on the Stadia experience so far, which to say has not been great. Some people who have pre-ordered Stadia say they still can't get access. But I do believe it's been resolved by now, but it took a whole 24 hours before they were even able to play the thing that they pre-ordered and found it.
Did anybody hear by Stadia? Anybody jump into Stadia?
No, like a couple of our buddies bought it, and like, you know, like
stupid Spawnway bought it. Wood bought it.
Yeah, Wood was trying to get it hooked up. What was it, last night? And he couldn't get in.
He couldn't get on last night. Yeah. It was last night, and it took. He fell asleep, and then like he was 800th in the queue from like 400.
Ooh.
Yep.
Oh my god.
So it's like, wow. So there's been two different experiences, right? So we've got the Stadia experience, we got the xCloud experience, which of course xCloud is in beta. xCloud news came out that we can expect for features in the coming year. For instance, preview coming. It's coming to Windows 10. There's going to be an expanded list of Bluetooth devices and controllers that are going to be able to be compatible with, and of course, more games are coming to the preview program. At the moment, it only supports Android, but in 2020, they plan to bring it to Windows 10 amongst other unnamed devices. In addition to that, there will be some Game Pass stuff in there, which kind of suggests some like tiering systems to it as well. New games quote unquote, new games coming to the xCloud preview are going to be World War Z, Forza Horizon 4, Devil May Cry 5, and a variety of back catalog. So a lot of the stuff is older games, but new to the service. Meanwhile, though, in June, Google made an enticing offer for founders saying that anybody who pre-ordered Stadia would be able to log in, lock in their names, and move on. However, that's not what freaking happened. Basically, at some point, they had to say in the subreddit that we're aware some of you who have pre-ordered the Founders Edition may not have received your invite codes in the expected timeframes. It took at least a minimum of 24 hours for some user to get their code to even access the product that they purchased. That
Hate
is
to see it.
You hate to see it, but it be
Great.
true.
Fucking dumpster fire. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be lying if I said that I was surprised that this is happening. Like,
Oh,
I
no.
feel like everybody knew that this launch was going to be a bit of a rough one.
So the technology surrounding the back end of what these services do is, I love it. I think it's great. So I like the backside of it. Haha. But the front end for the user, like, seems like it's just like not great. Like, moving on to another thing that came out is that initially they said about an hour of gameplay was going to be 20 gigabytes of data usage. It's come out to be that for 1080p 60, it's 100 megabytes per minute. You're looking at data consumption rates exceeding 30 gigabytes per hour. The infrastructure, like some people like
That's
us
crazy.
with Cox Internet,
Like, that's crazy.
Oh my god.
we get a terabyte a month. That's it. Play 1 hour is 30 gigs.
That's crazy.
The infrastructure is
Ouch.
just not there to support
But
it either.
Honestly, though, even beyond infrastructure stuff, if you guys see like on Twitter, like the people who are getting like their first hands with it, is the one thing that everyone's been talking about is the latency stuff, and that seems to be a problem. So if you're playing in games like Destiny or Forza or just any of these games, latency is going to continue to be a issue for any of these services, xCloud and Stadia.
Well, dude, the latency makes like fighting games unplayable.
Yeah.
So there's no point to.
Is this xCloud or
Right.
Stadia? Because Stadia was supposed to have negative
or
latency.
anything with a quick time event.
No, I'm talking about like the Stadia, the people who've gotten hands on, like people who have been playing Destiny, they've been complaining about latency. Like, game looks great, but the latency hits hard, and that sucks. If you're playing Destiny, you're trying to play online PvP, like, ugh. It's terrible.
I know how most of the panel feels about gaming as a service, but RGT, you're our guest tonight, and I really don't know your thoughts on this. I'm going to go ahead and take a wild guess and say you're not a proponent for gaming as a service, streaming services, and things of that nature. Maybe I'm wrong, not to be presumptuous. What is your feeling on the market moving towards this platform?
I like it as an option. I don't like it as mandatory. If it's an option, I feel like it's fine. The industry is really the ones pushing things for games as a service more so than I feel consumers are. There's a reason why, when you look at PlayStation now, the big games aren't on there. Microsoft doesn't seem to value their IPs quite as much. They don't think they can sell, but that could be, of course, due to the fact that the Xbox One didn't really set the sales world on fire. I like Game Pass, though. I think Game Pass is really cool. I think it's given me an opportunity to play games that maybe I wouldn't have checked out before. Do I think it's the be all end all solution? Not at all. Google Stadia to me is 7-8 years ahead of its time. We saw this with OnLive back in 2013, same sort of thing. You could play. I remember playing Batman Arkham City on a $100 netbook that I had. And it worked. It worked. It wasn't great, but it worked. And Google Stadia just doesn't offer anything to anyone. I don't see the point of it. I don't see the point of getting a product that you essentially rent your games for a premium price, and then you're still paying the top dollar for older games, and it might work or it might not. I've seen so many inconsistent reports. People, I know Shane from Rerez, he was playing it at home. It seemed fine. He brought it to his office the next day, which has better internet speeds at his office. I think he has like 1 gigabyte at his office and like 300 megabytes at his house. And some of the games were damn near unplayable. And it's like, what is deciding this? What is going on with this? So Google Stadia is just, it's silly to me. xCloud, I think, is good as an option. I like things like Game Pass, but I still prefer to buy my games. And the one thing I noticed about Game Pass is it's almost like, to me, people ask me, why do you buy arcade one-up machines? Why don't you just build a main machine? Why do you buy old video games? Why don't you just get a Raspberry Pi or something? And with Game Pass, it's I see the exact same thing. You almost get overloaded. Like when I go into my little arcade room over there, I sit down at my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cabinet. I know that I'm either going to play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game, or I'm going to play Turtles in Time. That's why I'm sitting there. When you get something like Game Pass, when you get something like a Raspberry Pi, and it has all these games on it, there's 100 games on there. You just sit there and you start scrolling, and you start scrolling, and you start scrolling. You're like, what
And
do
you
I
end
want?
up playing nothing.
The Netflix
What do I
effect.
actually? Yes, what do I actually want to play? And you know what I end up playing half the time? Older shit. You know what I just got on Game Pass the other night? The Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 HD collection. Because I was like, fuck, I really want to play Metal Gear Solid 3. I would like to play it in HD, and I don't feel like pulling out my PS2. So it's almost an overconsumption. I think it's great for new games because it gives you a chance to play with Game Pass. You're playing Microsoft first party games. I would have never played Sea of Thieves if it wasn't for Game Pass, and the fact that I have Game Pass and that I got it, essentially for just the price of Game Pass. So it's nice to be able to check out games like that, but I just feel like it's sort of a content overload. It's that Netflix effect. There's so many damn things, and then you just end up going back to something familiar.
Yeah. I would like to quickly touch on something. We got a buddy who is actually a founder for Stadia. He's the only one out of our panel and our regulars that actually does that. Is Your Player 2, Josh. Your Player 2 has picked it up, and he says it shows promise and it's functionally smooth, but he does also state that it requires a wired connection. So for these people that are experiencing latency, or the gentleman that went to work and found they had better internet but than home, but had a more poor experience. Look, when you're using a wireless connection, whatever it is that you're doing is not going to be as great as if you're on a wired connection. Now, if they want this to succeed, they definitely need ease of access. They need it to be workable on a wireless connection. But I think right now that's one of the things. It's like, Your Player 2 is like, well, if it's wired, it's a better experience. That's going to be true, especially if it's pushing 100 megabytes per minute. Do you think that is what's causing maybe such the latency pushback? Is that we just have people that aren't equipping their connections properly?
Yeah, you have to think about this. The way that they're pushing it is that your Google device that you've been playing your Amazon, Netflix, and Hulu can do Google Stadia. They're pushing it for the everyday consumer that's on Wi-Fi. So if it can't freaking work on Wi-Fi, your consumer base isn't gonna buy it. So it just makes no sense.
It's not supposed to be a home console. It's supposed to be something that you can play at home, but you can play it on your phone, on your tablet, on your laptop when you're away from home. And I think that's where they're really missing the mark. I think people would be a little bit more forgiving if and that's a whole nother thing with fucking Stadia, is just how rushed it was. Like, like 95% of the features that are supposed to be on the thing are not on the thing. You have to use the update. You have to use the Chromecast that comes with the Google Stadia. If you have a normal Chromecast, it won't work. There's an update coming in 2020 though, so don't worry about it. Oh, the thing where you can, online multiplayer achievements. Oh, that's coming in 2020. Don't worry about it. The whole, watch your favorite streamer on YouTube play a game and you can hop in and buy the game, press a button. Oh, that's coming sometime in 2020. It's like, obviously this wasn't ready to release. Why are you releasing it? Oh, because of Christmas, because you want those holiday sales, just like the freaking PlayStation Classic. And how did that work out? Not too good.
The issue is though, is that there's going to be a Christmas every year.
Right.
So like if all these features require more development, I think that the backlash that they're going to get from releasing early, obviously it seems like a no-brainer to us, but the backlash they're going to get for releasing early and having not having these features and having this negative publicity is going to far outweigh the loss that they may have had pushing it off for one more year and having these features included in a better experience.
Yeah, the only other thing was trying to beat Xbox to market. That's the other thing too, is trying to beat Project xCloud to market, to say that they were the first streaming device that you could play games on.
Here's the thing: Xbox is having similar experiences, though. Like you
In
go through under a
beta.
bridge, you go under a bridge, you lose connection, you stop playing your game, you go into some heavily concreted area, your game looks like one single pixel on the screen.
But
So
the difference there is the Phil Spencer. I mean, no matter what anybody thinks, he's literally said he won't release it until it's more than likely
Fair.
it's going to be ready for the average consumer, as opposed to, you know, what Google Stadia is doing and just saying we'll fix it later. So I don't know. I think if it's gonna work right, I think Xbox probably has the best chance to make this work as opposed to what Stadia's doing. Because like you said, I think their dumpster fire is probably gonna it's just gonna end up hurting them in the long run.
So I was really making that point as a devil's advocate because it was raised, but I do agree they are marketing it as something that's no brainer, no hassle. Plop down on your couch, get on your phone, go to Starbucks, play a video game. If it can't do that, what it says on the tin, people are
Mhm.
gonna have that backlash. It's only to be expected. And again, part of that is the infrastructure. Part of that is that we're just not like RGDT said. That's a 7 to 8 year out thing. We need the infrastructure to actually get to a place where like gigabit is common, or something close to that in the very least, to be able to support this sort of network. But really, that's what we're going to look at the future. But let's look at now as well. And what's now is that Jedi Fallen Order has released, and it has an aggregate score of 81 on Metacritic, or if you're playing on PC, we've gotten a score of 83.
Dang.
We got a few samples of review spots here coming out. First from Gamers Heroes, giving it 100, perfect game, saying, much like what Arkham Asylum did for the Batman games, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order sets the new standard for Star Wars titles. Not only is it a great Star Wars game, it is also the best game of the year. However, I guess it'll need to be nominated next year. PlayStation Universe gave it a 90, saying it's a thrilling marriage of Uncharted, Dark Souls, and Metroid. A few technical hiccups aren't nearly enough to derail the best Star Wars game in years. Rewarded, your patience has been. Destructoid gave it an 80, saying you're going to occasionally roll your eyes at a cheesy moment, or groan at a technical issue, but Respawn did right by Star Wars. I excluded the zeros and tens. Giant Bomb did give it a 60, saying Fallen Order is both one of the best Star Wars games to date and distressingly unrefined. It's good enough that its host of technical problems feels like an affront to what the game could have been and the hard work and talent. There's a considerable amount of talent here of the people who made it. I kind of blended that together. They're fairly scathing on both their PlayStation and their PC reviews. Apparently, right now, PC's suffering a bit of technical issues. What a surprise. But overall, they're seeing an 81, 83. Has anybody touched this yet?
I haven't yet.
No?
Jedi?
Are you playing? Is it in your queue to play?
It's
we
definitely
haven't.
something I'm going to pick up. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have it. We just haven't unwrapped
I
it yet.
installed it and have yet to play even a minute of it. Cause I was like, I'm not touching this until I can at least give my full attention. I need to dump,
He literally
go
put
in
it
there.
in last night, and he was like,
I'm
"Oh,
gonna
let's
play
go
it."
downstairs and so I can play some Star Wars." And I'm like, "All right." We go downstairs, and he just continues to play Pokemon.
Yes. So it looks like, Mr. I played an hour before the stream. It's your time to shine.
Well,
Yes.
I played an hour of this game before the stream, so I guess I'm an expert here.
The
I watched him
professional.
jump all over the place.
I mean, so I mean, from what I've seen so far, even though I've only played like a little bit of it, I've only played like an hour so far. I did, the night that it came out, watch my friends play a lot of it, and man, there are some really incredible moments in that game. Right off the bat, right from the start,
Nice.
it kind of just like it grabs you. And if you're a Star Wars fan, you're definitely going to enjoy it. If you liked The Force Unleashed, if you like, I don't know, man, if you like melee combat, if you like, action adventure games like Uncharted and things of that nature, you're gonna love this game. I wasn't crazy about the main character that they chose at first, but he's kind of like grown on me. I didn't like his character in Gotham. I thought that show was trash, man. But
Yeah.
It's not the greatest.
Yeah, it's a terrible show.
He's not a bad actor. Like,
There was just something about his face like the way that he played that character, and then seeing him in Star Wars as like the main protagonist. I'm like,
Not doing it. Yeah.
I don't really like.
I was like, all right, I'll see where it goes. But no, he's doing a good job. The game, I'm excited to see where it goes. I heard there's a lot of different elements of a lot of different other games mixed in. So far, all I've seen is Uncharted and a little bit of Force Unleashed so far. But I hear that once I get off of the first planet, that's when it really starts to branch out and go into a bunch of different gameplay styles.
My first impressions, I mean, I played for about, like I said, maybe it was probably more like a half an hour. So I got through, I'm on the train, right?
Yeah, I just got done with that.
Yeah, so my first impressions were it feels like it feels like Respawn because it has the climbing, the platforming, so which feels good. It doesn't feel bad. I'd say like Titanfall was one of the few games where platforming for me didn't feel like a hassle. It actually felt engaging, which is rare for a platformer, in my opinion. I thought the introduction of the antagonist, I'm already intrigued by that character. I thought it was pretty cool. And the thing I've always said, because growing up, I was a huge Star Wars fan, but my favorite part about Star Wars was always the extended universe. It was always the stuff that did not happen in the films. It was the comics, the books, the games, the stories that were told outside of George Lucas's scope. And this already sets up to feel like, yeah, if you like the mainline Star Wars franchise, there's going to be something for you here. If you like the stories that are told outside of the scope of the franchise, this is going to deliver on something that has not been delivered on for a while since EA has held the franchise. I mean, Battlefront 1 and 2, no matter what you want to say about it, they just have not delivered on story at all, or expanding the universe.
2's campaign was actually pretty good. I like it.
I played it. It just felt really like there's supposed to be like a third chapter or something, but
yeah, it felt like it was missing something at the end.
Yeah,
it needed,
Yeah.
it needed something. I enjoyed myself doing it. But that's like one small instance of since EA's had the franchise for a while where it was like, oh, we get a glimpse of where we could take this, and this is like here you go, have fun with it, and I'm looking forward to the adventure that will unravel for sure.
You know who should have played Cal?
Who dat?
Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus.
No, I think the baby.
boys.
The baby should have played him.
Yes.
The job, baby.
Yeah.
I will also say, fucking watch The Mandalorian. Look, I am a new Star Wars.
Disney Plus.
I'm a new Star Wars trasher. Like the movies, I'm not a fan of. Mandalorian is legit.
It actually really is really good. Yeah, I second that.
I haven't started it yet.
Rax, I will hook you up with the login, bro. I got a free year because of Verizon. And it's on my secondary email, so I'm not worried about you getting in my shit. So
Hit me up
Hook
with that
'em up.
login, boy.
I got
Hook 'em
you, bro.
up.
There you go. You get to watch
need to watch it, it's
Gargoyles too.
good.
It's fantastic.
Oh, dude, Gargoyles is on there?
Yeah.
Gargoyles is on
Oh,
there.
shit. I'm going down a rabbit hole.
It's got
Yeah.
some bangers on there.
DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, man. Yeah.
Darkwing Duck?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Let's get dangerous.
Let's get dangerous. Yo, I'm going down a rabbit hole. Let's go.
There we go. Well,
What
with
else we
that,
got?
that's the last
That's
topic of the
it.
night. What you got,
Oh,
Rax?
nice.
Anything?
Nothing.
Anything burning from the depths there?
It's my chair squeaking, dude.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's
Yeah.
what it is.
I
thought
promise
you-
I'm
That's
not
what that
shitting
is.
myself.
You're on a pirate ship. It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, with that,
Cheers.
guys, that has been a LootCast episode 25. Thank you, everybody, for coming by today. It has been a fantastic one. We've talked about Game Awards, Pokemon, VR, and Jedi, as well as Rax's chair disorder, or whatever you call it, going on over there.
Yep.
It's been a fantastic one. Thank you all for stopping by. I will now talk to our cast, see what everyone's going to be up to, and we'll do our sign-offs here, obviously starting with the man who decided to join us today. Thank you so much, Mr. RGT85, for stopping by our channel and hanging out with us during the LootCast today. We appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you having me on. Thanks. It was definitely very fun. If you guys are interested, I put up a video tonight talking about the best Black Friday deals for Nintendo Switch games so that you're not driving all around God's green earth on Black Friday trying to find the best deals, because my ass will be sitting at home. I can't deal with large crowds like that. I'll start shanking people and stuff if people touch me. But
Cyber
if
Monday,
you
then?
if you want to get out there with the crowds, I tell you what the best deals are.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys head over to his channel right now. For whatever crazy reason you're not subscribed to that man already, please make sure you guys check him out. His channel is in chat right now. And moving over to the man who is back, Mr. Rax the Great. Anything now that you hit the live button, people have expectations. So what do you got planned?
That they do.
What's going on?
So the plan is going forward, just kind of trying to come up with some sort of plan in general. I do want to get back to streaming a little bit. Obviously, I do want to do a little bit of research on what content, is going to be considered kid friendly, is not going to be considered kid friendly. What's going to fall in that gray area that I can kind
No
of
slime stuff.
maintain. I want to come up with a plan where I can. I feel like a lot of the times when it comes to me putting out a video, it all comes down to me editing. Like the time that it takes to edit and the stuff that I like to do with my videos, that's where it really comes down to not having enough time. So if I can come up with a format where I can, keep it manageable, then I'll get back to putting up some videos. But I got to play around with some things, so it might take some time to get back to that. But I'll definitely be doing some live streams. So if you guys want to come hang out with some live streams, make sure to head over to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and turn them notifications on so you know when we go live, because I don't have a schedule.
There you go.
You're gonna need it.
Turn on them notifications and make sure you guys check out Mr. Rax's channel in the chat. Mr. Jake and Mr. Bacon, Mr. Luscious Hair himself, Mr. Never Use Any Nair. What you got planned for your channel, sir?
I don't know.
Pokemon.
I want to say something funny real quick to Sean.
Okay.
What's up?
2 years ago, I wanted to switch, and I was going down the rabbit hole on YouTube, and I found your channel.
I'm so
And then
sorry.
And then I went to Spawn Wave, then I went to Player Essence, and then through Player Essence, I met Avanon Smith, and that's like rabbit just spiraled down, and it's weird how yeah, it's just funny, dude. Unfortunately, I met Rax along the way.
Yeah,
I think that's definitely unfortunate.
He showed me everything a man should be. And frankly, I'm very self-conscious now.
And you'll remember it for your life.
It was the best night I'll never remember.
Yeah,
But, yeah,
I brought
as
the
for
good
my-
Xanax that night. Name brand.
Name brand, huh? He stole it
none
from
of
his.
that Walgreens cheapo knock. I was kidding. People are gonna come knocking on my door in a minute. They're gonna be like, "What the fuck?"
Right?
So where are these drugs, sir?
Popping Xannies. But yeah, dude, for my channel, I'm gonna be. My TV's still broken.
Oof.
You gonna buy a new
Black
one on
Friday's
Black Friday?
coming up.
I'm gonna buy a new one.
Dude, there's
drinking
like
shenanigans.
Like
I
what
also
size
think
TV do you got? There's like a bunch of them at like Best Buy for like $200, $250.
Black Friday. There you go.
Yep.
There you
No,
go,
like we got
see?
them going
gonna
on
go
right
check
now.
out
You can
video.
watch Sean's video and get all the great Black Friday deals.
No,
I
it's only
watched
on
it.
Switch games. Nobody gives a fuck
Oh.
about it.
I watched it. But
It's like on TV.
Nobody gives a fuck about TVs. Nobody. I think if I made a PS4 one, I don't think anyone would give a fuck. It's
No,
weird.
I want you to make a fucking video. It's just like top TVs to buy this holiday season. I just want to see how you.
Well, the thing is, I'm so stupid with technology. Like, people think I'm a genius. Like, you've seen my computer setup. I have an all-in-one computer setup. I just finally got a decent secondary monitor. All my televisions are TCLs because they're fucking cheap, and I
They're
like
great,
them.
though.
They're fucking awesome. It gets
Yeah,
the
they're
job
great.
done.
Yeah.
They've been winning awards with their TVs.
Yeah,
TCL is actually
Yeah,
beating
they're
out
pretty
LG and Samsung in the US. They're a Chinese company. They're going places.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yes. But anyway, I don't know. You can check on my channel, people in the chat, if you want.
so sad about
you
it.
can come
I
on
hate my
over.
fucking life.
I guess you can come check out my
I guess
channel.
you can come. It's it's cool.
It's cool.
It's cool.
All right, well,
Don't- it's cool.
moving on. Mr. Bodo Pauls, thanks for coming by for another episode, sir. Although you are kind of required, it's fine. Thank you for being here.
This is my day job. Don't thank me for coming onto something I'm
Pay
obligated
you
to
a
do.
very small amount to be here.
I get paid in kibbles and bits. It's okay. It's delicious. No, for me coming up is going to be some more Pokemon. I am still deep into the Mons. So Monopulse Monday with the monsters of the pocket variety is definitely going to be something we do. Of course, coming up in the near future as well, we'll be rolling out another gaming rewind of the subject yet to be determined. That'll probably be in a couple of weeks there as well.
Yep.
But come by on Monday. We're going to probably do some more catching. Maybe a couple more raids if we can get these snuggleheads over there. And yeah, that raid was stupid easy last time, by the way. Like, is there hard raids? Because raids are trash.
There are hard raids. They go from 1
Okay.
star to 5 stars, and they
Let's do a
increase the
5-star
difficulty,
raid.
Yeah.
I've done a couple.
5-star raid on Monday.
I suck at raids, and I've done 2 of them now, and they're easy.
Yeah, I mean, they're easy. I wanted them to be hard. When I think raid, I think it would be difficult, and it wasn't.
That first raid we did, you were like, "Wow, that was really easy." I was like, "Yeah," because I fucking took out the dude's health with one shot.
Jake,
Yeah,
because
you
you brought in like a level 8 dragon butt or
So-
something. Like,
Yeah,
I'm level
man.
30, tard nut.
Did good, dude. Shut the fuck up.
Go home. You're drunk.
And with that being said, thank you guys so much for joining on our channel right here, guys. You guys can catch the finale part 2 tomorrow night for Pokemon Sword and Shield. I'll be going live. And will Dom be a Pokemon master? That's the question that will be answered tomorrow night. So make sure you guys come back for that. This weekend, you can catch this lovely young lady playing Death Stranding on the channel. She's going to be delivering some freaking packages. You're not going to want to miss this walking sim go from one end to another end. It's going to be fantastic.